Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. I'm very happy today. I'm joined by the awesome Corey Congilio. Say hi, Corey.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. And just want to say to everyone watching, please let us know if the levels are fine. Any problems, then do let us know as we go. We're going to get right into it. Okay. So remember, you can also watch this again. It will remain on my YouTube channel.
I'm going to go to your YouTube channel and turn it down.
Oh yes, please,
Oh,
yeah, you should do that.
that
We don't want
would be.
any echoing in here, do we? And while you're there,
Oh,
Corey, make sure you subscribe to my channel as well. Thank you.
I think I already. Yeah, I already have.
My guest yesterday was not subscribed, so that was a good time to get him to subscribe.
Great. Turning down and watching an ad at the same time.
There we go. Hey, if it's on my channel, I don't mind. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah, I'll let it roll.
Okay, we do have a slight lag, of course, so I'm just going to wait just a minute. I want to wait for the first person to say they're in the chat and it's all working before we get going.
Absolutely. Let's play some waiting music.
Yeah, please do. You can play as much as you want. You just play and I'll tell you when we're good to start. Okay, I think we're good. We just had Maury come in for Maury's Music. Hi, buddy. Thanks for joining
Sweet.
us. And we were talking about that guitar in your hand that you're playing so wonderfully. And I'm going to talk to you about that guitar later on. Definitely.
Sweet. Let's do it. I'll just sit here and hold it because it's more fun to have a guitar in your hand than not.
I'm usually more comfortable with a guitar in my hand too, but I'm trying to operate
Yeah.
the mouse and everything. Let's get straight into the interview. So basically, I want to tell you my side of this. I've seen you years ago. I think I saw you
Right.
on Sweetwater, definitely Fishman, demoing Fishman stuff and Martin stuff.
Yeah,
I'm
for
right, right?
sure. Yeah, absolutely. That was many moons ago.
So let's go before that. Can you tell us like where you're from, how you got into playing music? Tell us about the early days to start with.
Oddly enough, I grew up 20 minutes east of the Martin Guitar Factory. But at the time, I didn't really give a rip about acoustic guitars. If it didn't have a pointy headstock, and didn't play metal, I didn't really care. Of course, I wasn't a huge metalhead at the time, but I just wasn't really interested in acoustic guitars. So that's where I grew up. My dad and my uncles all played either guitar or bass, so it was around a lot, but could not be any further removed from the Partridge Family. It wasn't like everybody got together and jammed. It was not like that at all. I just kind of saw bits and pieces of it, and I thought I was going to be a bass player. And then when my music store only had like 5 basses, but like 30 guitars, I was like, okay, I'll play guitar. So saved up for a guitar. And just kind of took off from there. Just loved it. Couldn't get enough of it. It was definitely where I sort of found my identity um, for a long time. Yeah.
That's cool. So who were the early like what band got you into the guitar? It was electric playing, right?
Yeah. I listened to music that was around my house, which was either classic rock, more into the southern rock vein, like Skinner, Allman Brothers, stuff like that. They also listened to a lot of Motown and some country as well in my house. And then, of course, pop and rock. Like my sister listened to all the popular rock and pop music of the day. So that was all kind of around. But it was very much guitar oriented stuff, at least the way it seemed to me. Um, and then, like ZZ Top, stuff like that too. And then once I started playing, I started finding, you know, Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan. And when my dad left the tape of Stevie Ray Vaughan, Texas Flood, out,
Hmm.
I snatched it and couldn't believe what I was hearing.
Love
So,
Stevie, love Hendrix, love Stevie.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that was kind of like what really catapulted me to the next level. And then there was a lot of like Metallica, Van Halen, grunge, all that stuff in my, I'm a late 90s guy. So,
Mm.
that's when I was born.
Me too. Actually,
Yeah.
Oasis was my favorite band. They got
Yeah.
me into
Yeah.
music. Love that. I still love them now. I
Nice.
love their early music. I find this a really interesting conversation because yesterday I had Henning Pauli on. We were talking about electric guitar and how big it is now. And some people
Yeah.
tell me the acoustic market is small in comparison. But it's interesting to speak to you. Same thing. You started with electric. You moved into acoustic. Did you move into acoustic because of the Marden connection or for another reason?
More into the Fishman thing. When I was doing the Fishman gig, it kind of was. I told this story today to a student. It was pretty cool because they were putting out these acoustic specific effects pedals, um, very much like what the LR Bag, not very much, but LR Bags has done that recently with the Align series. They've done a tremendous job. But the Fishman stuff, there was a delay, a modulation pedal, a reverb pedal, and they wanted demos of like ping pong delay and phaser, and nobody at the factory was really adept at doing that kind of stuff. Um, so they sent me some gear. I went to the factory and put on a show for them, and that's kind of started my 1 foot in the music instrument industry, which has really paid off as a working guitar player.
So Fishman was the first gig, not Martin.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I just I play acoustic guitar like I play electric guitar for the most part. Not always, but acoustic guitar, we don't have the luxury of distortion and sustain as much as an electric guitar. But I don't I don't play a lot of fingerstyle or Tommy Emmanuel type stuff, or I kind of play as if I don't know, just play like the way I want to play, and a lot of times I'm backing up a singer, so I have to kind of play appropriately for that too.
That's really interesting. So that actually would let's talk about that guitar in your hand right now then, because that I play
Yeah,
that at NAM, and it seems to me
yeah.
that you would be the ideal candidate for that guitar. Am I right?
Well, in a lot of ways, yeah. Because if you are jumping to an acoustic guitar from an electric guitar, this is a nice transition. When I worked in a music store years ago, uh, Taylors were super hot because of the cutaway, and a lot of the metal and rock guys were doing, their unplugged sets, and they wanted to go,
Mm.
and they wanted to put lighter strings on. This already comes with lighter strings, and the cutaway is just ridiculous,
Oh, that
as
looks great.
we know.
I love the back of that guitar actually. I think.
Yeah.
Can you just show us the back again?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I'll put you full screen. Look at that. That's very ergonomic. What are the two slots in there in the back there?
These.
Yeah.
So it's a really unique and interesting neck design that they've done. Martin is known for their dovetail joint on their standard series instrument. Well, from 15 series on up, they have simple dovetails. They have handmade dovetails, and they want as much wood on wood contact as possible. Whereas a company like Taylor has a bolt on neck. And when I sold Taylors years ago at a music store, they said bolts resonated more than wood. That was the pitch we had to
Mm.
say. But a purist definitely wants wood on wood. So Martin said, how can we create a neck like this with a metal dovetail but still have wood on wood contact? So there's this really cool thing that's going on there where, like, imagine my hand is the dovetail, is the pocket, and then the neck kind of slides in like that. And they're made of metal, but on this side and this side is wood. And as you crank that screw, it pulls the neck to the joint. So these two parts here are still wood touching wood, and you can see that it's all wood on wood
Mm.
contact there. But in the middle there's this track almost, and as you tighten that, it pulls the neck in.
Mm.
So not only that, but it has you probably can't see it. There's literally like a height adjustment shim in there, and then there's a screw that does the intonation. So you can change the intonation of this neck by moving it forward or backward. A
Ah,
30-second of
like an
and
electric guitar, right? Mm.
exactly, and you've never really do that on an acoustic.
That's really cool. I can't wait for those to
It
come
is
out. I was saying to Maury the other day, those guitars, things like that can be polarizing because obviously Martin is known for its traditional guitars, obviously, right? The
absolutely
whole history, that's why we love them. They try and do something new, which I appreciate. Sometimes people can say, well, that's not what Martin do. As long as they do that as
right.
well as the other stuff, that's fine, right?
No, absolutely, and that's the thing. I mean, I think they've proven over 186 years that they've set the standard. The video I just released. This is a classic plug for a video I just put on YouTube. I did a full demo of this with a lot of a song that was very modern backing track, like almost like a house dance beat. And I've already gotten some negative feedback on the track. People don't like to. They want to hear it. Maybe they want to hear do that. I mean, I went
That's nice.
because they see people going, playing weird chords,
Mm.
with some delay and some atmospheric reverb or something, and you couldn't get your hand up there before, and I'm comfortably sitting there up at the 17th fret.
Yeah,
So
that's great.
it is polarizing, but Martin invented the X brace in like 1842, the dreadnought in 1912 or 13. I can't remember what, early 1900s. 26 or 36, they went to, I think, a 14 fret guitar. This was all stuff that Martin was doing that's been copied for years. So they're well within their rights to try to invent something new in the acoustic guitar line, for
Oh
sure.
yeah, I'm glad they're doing that, and I look forward to seeing possibly a 28 version, like even higher end version, because that looks great already. But I'd love to see where they can take it. We're completely off topic here, but it's absolutely fine. So
Okay.
before that guitar, you say that one's good for you to play with the colorway and everything. So what was your guitar of choice, Martin guitar of choice before that model?
My first one is, if you look at that sort of orangish stained one behind me there where my thumb is, it is called an M36. And an M36 is, since it was the first one that I was going to get, it had to do it all. So it's a triple O body. It's got a little bit lower bout than a triple O, and a 25 and a half inch scale. So it's a dreadnought scale with a more of a triple O. It's called a quad O body, and that guitar is amazing. That thing, I could take that guitar and just do all the sessions on that one. It just works really
The
well.
M36 is a very unsung hero, isn't it? So
It is.
Corey can see me on Skype right now trying to fix my hair because I desperately need a haircut. I'm going to try and crop it off the shot. Don't worry, they can't see that, by the way. I'm cutting in now. I just gave it away, though. Um, okay, yeah, M36 is great, and I'm sure you've played all the guitars, right? Because you're working with Martin. So let's backtrack then. You got the gig with Fishman, demoing the
Yep.
Fishman products, which are still available
Yep.
online if you want to look them up with Sweetwater, right? And
Oh
and
yeah.
then I guess because Martin used Fishman pickups, that got you
Yeah.
into Martin.
Yeah. Well, I was doing a lot of joint clinics and demos and trade shows where we would share a booth with Fishman or Martin, and a Martin rep came up to me and he goes, "Hey, we should do some of this stuff. You should do some of this stuff for us." And I was like, "Okay, if we can figure that out, let's do it." So we would always do some joint stuff. I'd never officially had worked for Martin in that capacity, but here's where it gets interesting: is I moved to Nashville 7 years ago now. This is the second tour of duty. I lived here once before, and how can I say this? I was working with Fishman full time at that point for a year, doing some artist relations, doing the demo stuff, and I wanted to be known as a player in town because that's what I really wanted to do, was play guitar. And I was really known as the Fishman guy, and I quit. I just gave up a
Oh,
salary,
I didn't know
benefits,
that.
and
That's interesting.
I said I'm gonna roll the dice and be a guitar player. It was no less than like 2 or 3 months later that Martin called and they said, "Hey, would you do some clinics for us? You get to be your own artist. You're not employed by us. I'm a hired gun basically for them."
Hmm.
So I the journey just started, and I started doing a lot of stuff for them, still on a freelance basis. So it's fun.
So were you employed? Were you actually employed by them at one point?
By Martin or
By
Fishman?
well, either.
For a year, I was a consultant for Fishman for a while, and then I was a full time employee for about a year.
And for Martin,
No, I've never been a full time employee,
okay, but you
but
but you quit all
I,
that to do other things, basically.
yeah, the Martin gig is great because on a good week we'll go out and we'll do 2 or 3 events in a particular part of the world, and I'm home for the weekend. And if I need to go do gigs on the weekend, I can do that too.
Hmm.
It's there's a lot of travel involved, but on a typical year with Martin, I'm doing 20 to 25 events. My first year, I did 40 events in a year.
Wow.
It was, and that was a lot,
Yeah.
but it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot.
That's interesting because we've heard about your early life and how you got into that. So I was interested to know, like, when someone lands a gig like that, which for a lot of musicians is a huge deal, right? And then it must
Yeah.
be very easy to just do that forever. It's cool that you kind of thought this, okay, this is great and I appreciate it, but I want to do other things musically. Am I right? So it's
Absolutely.
impressive to me and to people that you stepped away from that. You take a risk, right? With anything in music, you can't just do the
You know,
same thing all the time. You have to take a risk at times, and you did that. So tell it.
yes, that whole yourself kind of thing.
So tell us more about that time then. So you just moved to Nashville? Did you have any contacts? What did you do to get work in
But
Nashville?
here's what I did. I was very strategic. Um, whilst working for Fishman, I uh, was doing some artist relations stuff. So what that meant was my boss worked with Eric Clapton's guitar tech, or worked with the Edge's guitar tech, or Dave Matthews, the big guys, right? If some guy that tours with a B+ level country act wants to get a deal on a product, he would call them and he'd send them off to me, and I'd kind of do my due diligence and say, okay, oh, you're touring with Jake Owen, okay, great, and you're playing acoustic, and you want to purchase a Aura Spectrum DI at a discount, okay, well, here, we can give it to you at this price. And this was before there was requirements of like post it on Instagram or that sort of thing. It was more of a goodwill sort of a thing. You know, companies are like that are still making, people at companies, they say, if we can break even with artist relations, then we're doing okay, because it's a goodwill effort. It's a grassroots thing. It gets more interest in the product. It's been seen on stages. It's all the marketing that kind of goes along with it. Um, so I was kind of that guy, and I made friends with a lot of touring musicians. Now, the 100 people I talked to, they all say, "Hey, when you move to Nashville, look me up. I'll help you out." Now, if 5 or 6 of them help you out, that's pretty darn good, because that leads to so many other little, like those little tributaries of that. And that's what happened. I moved down here, and in the first month, I had an audition with one of the biggest touring acts of the time. I was one of 5 people to get the call. I didn't get the gig, um, and another great dude did. But that guy had been working his way through the ranks. He was in a band that was opening for that band, so they had experience with them on tour. And when you're on tour with somebody and they see how you conduct yourself on the road, then they're more inclined to hire you, because, oh, that guy's he's a win. He's not going to get drunk and fall off the stage
Mm,
or bring a bunch of groupies backstage. You know what I mean?
mm.
Like, it's a business, and that's that really it's something that they consider when they hire you. So it's been my life since moving here has been steady climb. It's been great.
You really have to network and be trusted, don't you? You don't just go straight into an awesome gig. They need to,
Yeah,
you've got to play great. You've also got to be someone that people can get on with and trust, right?
I'm still networking to this day, because there's some really wonderful people that I'd like to get to know and work with even more
Hmm.
in this town. You know, so it'll come.
Okay, so you're in Nashville now, right? You live in Nashville now? You're based there?
Mhm. Yeah,
So tell us, for the musicians that are watching, tell us all the ways right now that you make money as a musician, please.
sure. So the obvious ones are live performance. If I am able to get session work, that is it. The session work is challenging to get. There's a select group of people that kind of do it, and they're not looking to get rid of that job anytime soon. The way to get it is to kind of just meet people and find songwriters and producers that need guitar tracks, and I do more of them from my house than I do actually in studios, which I prefer anyway. I can really take my time. I'm really good. I've become really good friends over the years with Tim Pierce,
Oh, cool.
and Tim tells me the same thing. He likes to be in his little cocoon and really dialing in the sounds and not being pressed for time. Because I can lay a couple tracks down. I can go make a sandwich. I can listen to it all, and I'll be like, that one thing I want to go fix,
Yeah.
and I can feel really good about it when I send it out. And if I do one a week or four a month, I'm pretty happy. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. I did two last week. This week I probably won't do any, but you never know. It kind of all comes in waves. So those are two things. But so back to Fishman, um, we're talking 19 or 2007. Sorry, I cracked my knuckles there. Uh, the the ability to host video on the internet was not as easy as it is now. So companies, even doing demo stuff, it was not common practice. So I got to hand it to Fishman. They uh, wanted to make video demos of their products, as many as they could, and I was the guy. And a friend of mine just sent me a screenshot of an old one I just did recently. It was really really funny because I very proper, like I didn't really know what I was doing.
We
But I
all
got,
have those pictures and videos floating around.
of course, so I got coached by the people who were shooting the videos. And at the time, the lesson company I work with, one of them, TrueFire.com, was doing the shooting and hosting of these video demos.
Hmm.
And they were connected with Fishman, and they have a wonderful sort of back end where you can see analytics, who's clicking what, who's watching what, all that kind of stuff, at least at the time for those videos. And they said, hey, you're pretty good at this. Do you teach? And I was like, do I teach? I teach like 60 students a week, and that was probably taught more than that. And they said, well, this isn't what we do. We teach online guitar. And I was like, what? I'd never heard of it. But I'd seen pictures of like all these famous guitar players on their walls that had been there. So we started talking. I go there with an acoustic guitar because they want me to do some singer-songwriter course. They're like, we don't have anything like this. You'd be great for it. So I kind of like faked it.
Hmm.
And I don't think I fooled them, but I think they were like, okay, this isn't going to do well or something. They said, hey, by the way, you're doing a great job, but we're going to shut it down for today. So-and-so is going to a blues jam. Would you like to hang with him? And I was like, sure. I was like, do you have a guitar? Because all I had was one of these. And they're like, okay. So they hand me a telly, and I go to the blues jam. They let me sit in, and I just like did what I did. The reports were great afterwards. They said, we didn't know you could play blues or electric guitar like this. So they said, can you send us some clips of you playing? And I said, sure. So I did, and they were like, okay, your first course, 50 Texas blues licks you must know. And I was okay, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I watched a bunch of their other videos, and I kind of mimicked the layout. And there it was. The course launched. I think it was like the week of my birthday. It takes about 90 days for them to turn a course around.
Hmm.
I can go in the back end and I can see sales. And within the first few days, there was like 600 or 700 sales.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it was ridiculous. So that was another big way I was making money um, as a guitar player. And I didn't. And now they're like almost a household name.
I
Um,
didn't know they were around
in
that long. They've been around that many years?
20,
I
25
had no
years.
idea. I thought they just started like 2 years ago.
And a lot of people think that. And they started as something called Notes on Call.
Hmm.
And in the back of like guitar magazines, you could call up and get a guitar lesson over the phone, like a pre-recorded guitar lesson.
Wow. I
It was
never knew that. That's fascinating.
next is I have a poster hanging on my wall over here of 25 years of True Fire.
Oh,
So it's pretty. So that is another way that I've been able to sustain myself as a guitar player. Lots of private lessons over the years. I've gotten back into the live Skype and Zoom style lessons, um, and working with Martin, working with Fishman, those kinds of things. I've become the spokesperson for the Oxbox,
yeah.
audio Oxbox. So I do their NAM demos. I do occasional other things for them when they ask. If you're wondering why I have so many of them, it's because they've been nice enough to loan me a few. But when, like, Kenny Chesney's entire band is using them now,
Wow.
and I help do that. So I send one to their rehearsal. They get it. They buy one. They bring it back. So I have some on hand. And if I have somebody over, a guest, and we want to shoot something, we can both go through Oxes if we want. So it's really nice. They've been really gracious to me. They're amazing. I work with some of the greatest companies there are: Martin, Universal Audio, Two Rock, QSC, Harman brand of companies. I have friends at all of those, and people will say, "Well, how did you do that?" It's like 20 years of just being friends with
Yeah,
people.
I totally
No,
get
no,
it. I totally relate to what you're saying, because what you're saying is you basically just put yourself out there and just said yes to everything, right?
at an early, yeah. I mean, literally, I have to say no to stuff now, and I've had that conversation with Tim Pierce too, where he has friends that work at these companies, and he sometimes he has to turn them down because we're too busy shooting. Shooting and editing is a big
Of
deal. It
course.
takes a lot of.
I know,
You
I
don't
know.
have.
I'm enjoying these live streams because we can interact with people, which is really lovely. But
Yeah,
also, I don't have to edit the video after the fact, which is a
exactly.
really nice thing. All right, that's great. Let me just go over the chat and just see if there's any questions. Say hi
Yeah,
to people. We got Maury's Music, Patsy Smith, Music Therapy Laz. Hi, nice to see you again. IFTH, thanks for joining us again. Have you? Okay. Thank you for the super chat, Patsy Smith. Enjoying the interviews. I got lots more to come, and we appreciate everyone for being on here. Hi,
great.
Rodrigo. And Chris Decker, how you doing? So make sure you check out Corey's channel. I'll put it in the description below when we're done, so you can subscribe to him and check out everything he does.
Yeah,
So that's really interesting. I didn't know that about you. It makes sense now, though, and it's kind of what I did. I just went out. I wanted to be a performer, so I just went out and played,
yeah.
play. Eventually, places booked me, and I became full time, and that's what I did. If you put yourself out there and say yes to everything, things will start to stick, won't they?
You know, I agree 100%. There's a book that I point back to. Um, it's called The Third Door by a young guy who wrote it by the name of Alex Benayan, and it's a very he wanted to write a sort of like a Think and Grow Rich for his generation. He wanted to write a book that spoke to college students.
Mm.
Or a motivational business book essentially that were to just inspire people. But wasn't written in the 70s or in the 80s. And he has a chapter in there called "Bite Off," something about always bite off more than you can chew. And if you say yes to everything, you're gonna say yes to some shit that scares you, you know, and that's
Yeah,
okay
I've done
because
that.
then you're testing your mettle. You're saying I got to rise to the occasion. Otherwise, I'm gonna fail at this, and I'm gonna let this employer down. And generally, this isn't like to do subpar work, but people's expectations are probably a lot lower than you think. Like sometimes if you just show up, like people used to say, "Oh, can I hire you to play background music at my winter gathering?" I'm like, I can't play fingerstyle acoustic,
Yeah.
but I would go there and go,
It's It's
and they're like,
I want to
"Hey,
share a story at this point because
go
it's
ahead."
relevant. Do you know my buddy Skip at Martin? You know Skip Belts?
Yeah, I just hung out with Skip not too long
Yeah, he's a
ago.
great guy, and he well, Nam before the last one, he had me play at the Gamma event, and I probably shouldn't say this because I'm giving it away, but of course he said just play guitar. I play guitar and sing. That's my thing, right?
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
kind of, I in the factory, I kind of explained to him like, well, I could sing as well. It's still background. And then like, I'm kicking myself after the fact. I'm like, just say yes, and then figure it out. I play guitar. So then I
exactly.
then spent 3 months or 2 months or even 6 weeks, like every day, 6 hours a day. I hadn't done that kind of work in the longest time. And it made my fingers kind of bleed, and it made me really work and focus. And it was the best thing I could have ever done. And you're right. Of course, the first thing you think is he's expecting Tommy Emmanuel, but he's not
Exactly.
expecting Tommy Emmanuel. He's expecting what you just said. That really ties in well, and I want to share that with
And
people.
yes, no, I'm sorry to interrupt. You're absolutely right, and I think what a lot of people do is you have to. This is why working at a company for a short time really helped me understand things. A lot of folks doing their job are trying to get to the end of their inbox or trying to complete a task to go on to another one. If somebody from a company hires me to come and do something, they're like, okay, great. We believe in him. We trust him. He's going to do a good job. We're going to move on over here to this next task.
Yeah,
So at that point, you got the gig. Don't sweat it. Just go and do what you do. They hired, and also Don't insult them.
Hmm.
They hired you because they thought you were good enough to do the job. So get in there and do it.
I
You
think
know,
musicians just put incredibly high standards on themselves. Like even the YouTube thing, I kept putting it off, putting it off, putting it off. You know, the video's got to be perfect. No, it doesn't. It's just got to be a video with great content and move on to the next one.
I'd love to talk about that too, just
Yeah,
for another
sure.
moment, because I have um, a couple stories I can share about that, and then I see that somebody wants to see the other acoustic I was
Yeah,
talking about for sure,
the M, right?
the M30. Yeah, so I'll grab that in a second. But to me, YouTube was not something I had any interest in. I wanted to be a session musician and a touring musician, and I did this lesson thing on the side. But the lessons made 3 times as much money as I made touring and doing sessions on a consistent basis. Um, or put it this way, the money was more consistent because it was mailbox money, essentially. So when people buy courses, I get paid on that on a quarterly basis. And shout out to TrueFire because they're paying their artists monthly now because of these particular times that we're in financially. So that's a big ups to them. So I fought it for a long time, and a a friend who's a massive YouTuber, Brett Papa Stash, he had me on the phone for an hour or two one day, and he was just like, "Here's what you can do, and you should do it because you're only at 25% of your ability." He's like, "You could be reaching a lot more people." So I got back into YouTube. I've been making videos once a week, um, and I sweated the production, I sweated the cameras, and I still do, And it's about the content and the connectability more than anything. So I think I have a pretty good bedside manner for just about any type of personality. I like to communicate with people and help them get to their goals.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of people are afraid of giving away their secrets or
Yeah.
something, or there's all weird stuff you can kind of, and of course the production value is a big one too. But what people like and appreciate, I heard Rabea Masad say this. He said, if you're upping your game continually, people respect that and they'll tune in more.
Hmm.
So, it doesn't look like this now, but my YouTube videos look a little different now. The lighting is better. Made a little money, bought a couple
Yeah.
lights. You know what I mean? Stuff like
Improve as
that.
we go, right? Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. We all have, So, um, so yeah. So there was probably a point that I didn't make that I was trying to get to, but that's kind of where when you said the YouTube thing, that really tricked me too. Because um,
Well,
now I can get people to see all of my other courses and lessons and stuff too, and I've reached a lot of people that way. So it's another way to
I
kind of
want to
do
get
it.
into YouTube specifically, but before we do that, can we just show off that awesome Martin M36
Yes.
and just talk a bit about those guitars? Because no one ever talks about those guitars. They're quite
No,
interesting.
and there's a cool story behind it
Mm.
too. Um, so it's going to be drastically out of
Now
tune.
you don't have a Fishman in there; you have a Bags in there. So do you are you
I
with
do.
those guys too? What's the deal with that?
Everything's got a backstory. And I find that too when you're looking on social media and you're saying, wow, how does that person have something that I don't? There's always a backstory as to why. Like I would see, like, why does that person have that gig? Oh, they're really good friends with the musical director,
Well, of course, it's
and that's
it's not who you it's not
not
what you
their.
know, it's who you know. No,
No,
my question was, you've got a back because I review pickups on my channel. I've reviewed a ton of acoustic guitar pickups.
yeah,
You've got an Anthem in there, right?
I
Yeah.
do. And so it was about, well, probably 2017, 2018. Martin started to use Bags pickups on their standard series. You had the option to
Mm.
choose, and I just reached out to Bags and I said, I really want to learn more about your stuff. And they're like, we know who you are. What do you
Mm.
want? And they hooked me up with some really nice stuff. So I think I put it in that 0015 SM slot peg head 12 fret guitar, and I really liked it. And I started to use a couple of those on tours, and I needed them to sound similar, so I needed to make sure there was a Bags in this as well. And I got to tell you, I think it's the most organic pickup
Mm.
on the market.
It is it's one of my most recommended. Yeah, for plug and play, it just sounds awesome. I was just
So,
interested. Sorry. So does that? I can't think how to ask this question in the right way. I'll just ask it. You don't have to answer it.
yeah,
Like, is there any like you the fishman and the bags thing? Is there any kind of competition? Is that?
I'm not. I mean, you know, Mart Martin's had a relationship with Fishman since '81 or '83. There's a great story about how Larry Fishman had one single under saddle transducer, put it in his pocket, took it to on a plane, took it out of his pocket. He walked into the meeting room. They snatched it out of his hand and they broke it. And he didn't have any other prototypes, so he had to go back to Boston, make a few more, fly back to Martin, and the Martin Gold Plus was created because that's basically an old Fishman Natural One, I think, or Natural Two, either one. But so I just felt that where there was a period where Fishman started working on triple play, Fluence electric pickups, and that kind of opened a window or a door for bags a little bit more, creating Anthem, Lyric, the Align series of pedals. I have a bunch of those that sound really tremendous. And once I started playing it, I felt like it was a little bit more immediate feeling to me than the transducers that Fishman make are super transient. Like, they're great. But the little bit of air that this microphone. Are you hearing a. Was that.
We lost you for a few seconds after the word microphone.
Yeah. Well, the microphone in this, what they say is like, if you put a giant conference room table and they mic the conference room, that's essentially what's happening to the top with the microphone and the Anthem. This is the conference room table, and it's miking the whole top. Now, Fishman did a great job with their sort of enhanced system that they use on Martins, but this is one that you can buy in a box and put it in your own guitar. I don't think you can do that with a Fishman
We've
system
had
yet.
many conversations online about gear, and it seems to me you're quite a traditionalist. Am I right? You like amps and mics and pickups and.
Yeah, I mean, I've used plenty of digital stuff over the years, but we're going to a situation now where those things are being merged so well. With the aux, with a pickup system like this. But I use amp plugins a lot. I don't use any amp modelers at the moment because with aux I don't really need to. So, but I like technology. I mean, I got digital stuff all over the place, but it's just whatever gets me to the finish line.
If you got called for a gig right now to play acoustic for a singer-songwriter, and also for like to play in a blues band, what would you take to the gig?
If I had to play acoustic guitar for a singer-songwriter, it would either be this one, or I'll put this back. They're in here pretty tight, so I gotta be careful.
Don't knock them.
So this one is really fun. I love this one. This is a 0015 SM. It's about 2002. Again, the humidity just wrecked everything.
Yeah.
I won't even play it because it's so out of tune. But and I'm doing sessions and teaching so much I don't keep up with some of these. But this one is so fun to play, and I got a great deal on it. And it's got a pickup similar to that one, so I can take either one and know that my pedal situation will be fine. So there's that, and then.
But do you use an acoustic amp, effects pedals?
Good question. So we'll just walk around my studio.
Maury says you like P90s. I can see that.
Yeah, I've got a handful of those. This is a recent little board I put together for some acoustic stuff. I demoed the SC13 at Sweetwater recently, and I have it's the Align session, the EQ, a delay, and a reverb. And to me, there was a lot of. Now, here's the thing about the SC. It's a very inexpensive Fishman pickup in it, and when you're dealing with a pickup like that, you're going to need some outboard help. It's just all there is to it. So I like to take a Swiss Army knife to a gig if possible, because I don't know sometimes what I'm playing through. If I can play through an acoustic amp, that's great. I'll do that. But if I have to play through a wedge monitor, you have to bring frequencies back in to a wedge monitor because they're tuned for vocals. So when you tune for vocals, you're robbing the acoustic guitar of a lot of, you know, mid range or whatever
Good point.
that might need it. So Paul McCartney told me never to name drop, but but Tommy Emmanuel literally told me that he takes his acoustic amp, let's say it's facing you, he takes his little AER, turns it completely
Yep.
backwards, and turns it all the way up.
Yeah. I've been to many Tommy Emmanuel camps.
I'll have you
Yeah. Well, I love his, I love him and his playing and all those things. But
spirit.
I mean, do you take
So,
do you take an acoustic amp with you then to an acoustic gig?
um, probably not. I probably wouldn't need to
Okay.
because there'd probably be adequate systems there, and a lot of times we're on in-ear monitors too.
Mm.
Um, but that's another thing too is I can really adjust what I want to send to front of house, you know, as opposed to just coming out of a pickup, which I think is unfortunately, folks. If you buy an acoustic guitar with a pickup, just like there's pedals for electric guitar, it's imperative to have tone shaping for your acoustic pickup. There isn't one on the market that's plug and play. It's
That's well,
impossible.
I would say the Anthem is plug and play, but it can be even better.
Pretty close.
Be better with everything's better with EQ. Because you're EQing for the room as well, right?
Yeah,
But
absolutely. Yeah.
that's funny you said that because some friend of mine came in here with Maury and said, why do they put a he said cheap pickup in that SC, and we said, well, it's a 13 series, it's not a 28 series, and also there are pedals now like the Aura, the Tone Dexter, and Bags have one, the Soundscape coming out that
Yeah.
actually can work well with a basic pickup. There's no such thing really now as a bad pickup. It depends what you plug it into.
What Bags told me was really cool. They said basically, uh, you take your phone, and the microphone in the phone is fairly flat
Yeah,
response, and what the processing in the app allows that does all the doctoring of the impulse response, you know, and it's really interesting because you know Aura is impulse responses, and it was that way before anybody called it that, as far as I know, and they wouldn't let you make your own images, or they call them images. Make your own IRs, and I thought to myself, wow, like I would field calls all the day from every day from guitar players. Hey, I got this great U67. Can I use it? No. You can send your guitar to us and do that. Now that M36 is in their library,
mm.
so it was really a cool experience because they did do all of the imaging on that guitar. And when I would hook it up, and it would be, I still have one somewhere, and it's pretty great
Mm.
sounding. There's no weird phase or crosstalk of frequencies that happen. It's really really a great innovation that they did, and it never really got the due, you know.
I totally I see again we think so much alike. Like I love Larry Fishman. We spoke a few times on on the phone at NAM, and I want to get him on here too because
Really,
yeah
really.
I think I want to say this on camera. The Aura system was way ahead of its time, way ahead of its
So
time, right?
part of it was it came out during the dawn of modeling.
Mm.
So people saw that it had a classical setting. They thought it would turn your a steel string guitar into a classical guitar. No, it's not that at all. It was meant to breathe more three dimension and air into your pickup, which it certainly does. And I agree. Like I got to be. I'm pretty good at. I was a ninja with an Aura
Mm.
system because I had to. It was my job. Like I had to make it sound good, and I could hear when somebody on TV was using one.
Oh,
Like if I saw Paul Simon, or I could hear
James
James
Taylor.
Taylor
Yeah.
used. I got to play one of James Taylor's Olsons at the Fishman factory
Wow,
because
that's
they were
awesome.
imaging. Yeah, and would use a Bags pickup with that. And the Fishman lauded that their Matrix worked
Yeah.
best because of the elements. It's all nerdy pickup talk, which nobody cares about. But it worked. That his worked well too. Is my point. It was a
Well,
fun day.
Fishman made those images with a matrix, and it's best if you use because
Exactly.
nowadays people are throwing IRs in like the Helix onto acoustic guitar, but it's not made with that pickup, and you've got to be careful to match them up, and that's why sometimes the Aura didn't sound right. And the problem with the Aura is they didn't explain it well, so everyone thought
Right.
it was. I heard Tommy Emmanuel say it's modeling, it sounds fake. No, it's not. It's an impulse response. Now everyone knows what impulse responses are, and it's much more accepted.
So the only drag was, in my opinion, Fishman tried to keep it as a secret too
Mm.
much.
I agree.
You
I
know,
agree.
so if they would have just put it out there and said, "This is what it's doing," because people would always say, "How does it? How do you do it?" and that we weren't really allowed to say this is what happens. I didn't even really know.
We're in interesting times because you've got the Tone Dexter, you've got the Aura, you've got Aura
Yep.
HD now making its way out. You've got the Soundscape coming out pretty soon. So impulse responses are the next big thing. But I still like just plugging an analog pickup into a speaker.
And here's why: because there's something about the cut of
Yeah.
the transient
Yeah.
that translates live better than just an impulse
Totally
response.
agree.
Because aura on like 40% is pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, start going beyond that. Now, if you play a solo piece and you want to gas it up a little bit more, you can kind of get away with it maybe. But as you start to lose mid-range and punch from that transient pickup, it gets lost in the mix. Like
Have
crazy.
you tried the Audio Sprockets Tone Dexter?
No, but I have a bunch of acoustic friends. I heard it once on a live broadcast. I'm friends with the guys in Brothers Osborne, and playing an acoustic Facebook Live thing for some radio station. And John Osborne was playing, I think he was playing one of those pre-war guitars, which Martin would hate that I'm talking about. But it sounded good because he had a Tone Dexter on it. And it was, wow, that's through Facebook Live. It sounds freaking awesome.
Yeah, it is very impressive. I mean, you've got to mic up your guitar and do it correctly and blend it in. It's, not as plug and play maybe as like an Anthem, but it's really impressive. Well, I had a question from my friend Chris Decker. He plays Cole Clark, so that is a proprietary system, 3 pickups in a guitar. Have you ever played like a Maton or a Cole Clark?
I've played a Maton and I've met some Cole Clark folks. I've never played one, but Cole Clark. They told me, they said, we're interested in making it sound great plugged in first. Martin wants to make a great acoustic guitar first, then add a pickup. And Cole Clark doesn't want to make a great acoustic, but they said we specifically go after a really great plugged-in sound system. And Matons sound incredible, like plugged in.
But it's also hard to make a acoustic guitar with 3 pickup systems in it. It's hard to make it sound great acoustic because it's got so much stuff in the guitar as well, right?
Also, easy to make it cost effective.
Let's move on to your electric rig. So blues band gig tonight. What would you take? You take a real amp or what?
Take a real amp. Probably this guitar. Now it could be a number of things. I'll try to pan over from. There we go. So there's a little 67 Princeton right here. That has a 12-inch speaker in it as opposed to a 10. That's a classic Nashville mod. I would probably not take this 50-watt Marshall. If I had an aux box, maybe. Over here, this is one of my new favorite amps. This is a 2-Rock Studio Signature. Now it's like a 35-watt sort of blackface thing. You're probably wondering what these are. They're little lights.
Oh.
So if I just want to add,
that's essential.
So, yeah, exactly. It's all experimenting for YouTube. Yeah. So that amp with this little cabinet is incredible because it's like a little 35-watt kind of blackface tone. I also have I've gigged with this 2-Rock. This is 100 watts, but it can go to 50. And the thing about their amps is that they have a proprietary transformer that lets you play with really great tone at a low volume. And those guys are my friends. A lot of these amps are like this. This is a loan. This is a quarantine loan. This is if you're ever at home during any kind of problem. You can't go outside. No, they just sent it to me to kind of. It was a NAMM show demo that they said, hey, just check it out for a while, and we'll send you a tag, and you can send it back when you've had enough.
That's cool.
But yeah, so but the lower wattage amp in a smaller room, well, it doesn't really matter because I've played a lot of their amps in small rooms that are high wattage. But this is a really fun guitar that I kind of go to a lot lately. It's a 61 Epiphone Casino.
That's nice.
So this is like classic John Lennon.
Wow. Where'd you get that from? 61?
Yeah, so good story. Hang on a second.
We had a question. When recording or playing live, what's the most basic setup for acoustic? I mean, I would say something like the Anthem straight into the PA. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Very, very, very good. Again, everything benefits from EQ and other effects and reverb and stuff, but the Anthem can sound great direct.
you know, I would also have a reverb pedal on
Mm.
hand because it just makes everything feel a little bit better, you know. But as far as this guitar, where did it come from? So I fell in love with ES330s. A friend of mine had one. It was cherry. It was a 1964, hardly any scratches on it or anything. And I wanted one. I was trying. You can find those still for like 3,500 or $4,000, and yeah, that's a lot of money. But it's also not custom shop money. It's not $7,000. You know, so you can get a vintage guitar for 3,500 $4,000. So a friend of mine buys this one from Nashville guitar session man Tom Bukovac, and he knew I wanted one of these. He said, "You got to check this guitar out. It's a beast." And then he said he wanted to put a bathroom in his house and he needed some cash, so I bought this guitar. So that's how
A
I got
guitar
it.
for a bathroom.
What's
A
that?
guitar for a bathroom.
Exactly. So, and these are great recording guitars. They fit in the mix differently than a lot of other things. And it has a great.
That's awesome.
It's a fun
Is that the
guitar.
two rock
Yeah.
you're playing through?
Yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm attenuating this two rock with the aux box, and I could just play clean. Actually, yeah. It just feels that the high wattage feels really
Hmm.
good. Has a lot of power.
I want to ask you about that because I just got a Synergy combo, you know, the one where you can replace the preamp with different preamps.
Yeah, that's really
So
really
what I'm
cool.
doing is I'm using the Helix 4 cable method just for effects, and I'm using the real amp with the real channels and switching channels. And then for recording, I'm going from the Helix out with an IR. So what would be a good solution? Like, is that a good solution, or would something like the aux box allow me to get a better tone? Do you think?
Um,
Because I'm playing very
so,
quietly in the apartment.
so you're using the IR for recording. So your Synergy amp is going to the IR.
No, so yeah, so the Synergy is in 4 cable method, then the preamp from the Synergy is going through an impulse response for recording. Yeah.
Well, the cool thing, I'd have to hear it, and check
Mm.
it out. But the cool thing about this is that it's allowing me to get the preamp and power amp completely analog.
Wow.
Um, there's other boxes out there that use a digital power amp inside of their box. This is not doing that. So when I'm attenuating the full preamp and power amp. So much tone comes from the power amp too. I'm a big heavy master, turn up the master, try to get it to be nice and clean. I feel like a lot of tone really comes from that, and you can do that with this because you can attenuate it
Okay.
just through the speaker. But then when you're using this, you essentially have a recording studio, a guitar recording studio in this
Wow,
box.
that's awesome.
You have over 20 cabinets. Again, plug. Great demo I did I think it's a good demo, on my YouTube channel of kind of the thorough. They just did an update late last year, so there's a lot of stuff going on with it for
So
sure.
could I plug the Helix into the amp 4 cable method and plug the aux box in, and then basically crank my amp but attenuate it from the aux box, and also record with the aux box as well? Could I do all that?
Is there a power amp in your Synergy amp too, or is it just a preamp
I
kind
have
of
the
thing?
combo, so it's power amp, preamp, everything.
Oh, yeah, exactly. You just unplug where the speaker would go, take the speaker out, and go into aux.
Okay. Wow.
So this is essentially your speaker,
Right.
so it doesn't hurt your
Right.
amp.
Yeah, I'd like to try that because I'm running.
Yeah,
The amp sounds great, and I love having the real amp in the room. But I'm running it at like 1. Yeah, so I'm not
yeah,
cooking the
yeah.
power amp at all. No.
No, I mean I have a similar thing going too, but with the aux box, I can get some nice attenuation happening. So, but I just want to shout out PRS as well too, because they took a liking to me last year, and they've given me some nice guitars to check out for a while. And
The Silver Sky. Nice.
so I'm yet to make a video on this. This is the second Silver Sky off the production line. The first one went to the guy whose name's on the back.
Oh, wow.
So this one,
Have you met John Mayer? Are you a fan?
I have not. I'm a fan for
Yeah,
sure.
me too.
I think we have to, we can't forget the importance of why the electric guitar still stays popular is because of guys like
Yeah.
him.
I'll tell you, I briefly owned one of those OM28 John Mayer guitars.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
that
I
guitar.
loved it. And it was 10 years old and never played. So it was aged, but mint. Had one little ding on it where they dropped it at some point. They hadn't played it. I didn't hold on to it because I just didn't feel like financially it was something I wanted to do. But I still kind of regret it because no one really has one. And I wish I'd made some videos with it because those videos are sought after. They made like 400 and something, right? It's a great
Yeah,
guitar.
and the thing I love about it, which I want to recommend to Martin, there's another thing I would do if they want to market that SC to electric players more, is to make the nut width 1 and 11
That's
16.
actually why I sold it. I like one.
Really? See,
I like 1 3/4. Yeah.
I'm a more 1 and 11 because my fingers stay tighter here, so I want that string spacing a little more
Yeah,
narrow.
I have big hands. I have
It,
big hands. I was gonna say to Maury, like, can you order that guitar without the John Mayer name on it, but with a 1 3? I guess you can, right? Just be like an OM28 with an Engelmann top. Yeah,
yeah,
that'd be
yeah,
cool.
I love it
Yeah,
too.
yeah. Awesome. Let me just see if we've got any more questions, and then I just want to ask you. We're going to start to wrap up a little bit, but
Yeah,
we've got loads of people here. Thank you for joining us. We've got a question
this is
from
like
Rodrigo about YouTube, and that's exactly what we're going to finish with. So that's great. Guitar looks beautiful and sounds great. Really like both your channels. I saw. Thank you very much for that. We appreciate your support.
thank
My friend Alex said,
my,
"What a great setup." That is a great setup.
yeah, it's come together for
Yeah,
sure.
I love it. I mean, I love gear too, you know, and I'm always going between analog and digital, and I think it's great to blend the two. That's a great solution. It really is.
One of one of my best videos as far as view count is of the HX Stomp that I don't even use anymore. I put it together for a
I
touring
saw that.
board, and it blew up. People really loved
So
it.
here's the thing with that. You know, I feel like there's certain pedals that do well, like the Kemper, the Helix. People are always searching those videos out. And that's why it's good
Yeah,
to make videos about them. But of course, you also make videos about the gear you actually use. So, but
right.
yeah, those videos always seem to do really well. So I've come to the point now where I enjoy the Helix I mean, I would love to make an analog pedal board like you have. Your board is awesome.
Yeah,
I'd love to have that with the real amp. But I think just for me, the fact that I'm mainly an acoustic player that does some band shows, the
yeah,
Helix is a great effects board and controller. Like it allows me to switch the channels and program a programmer basically. It programs everything. But
that's
I
awesome.
do love the real amp in the room thing. I love that feeling. That again, that
Yeah,
analog
yeah.
kick that you don't get from going direct, I feel.
It's funny. I had a friend over. We did an interview on my channel. I try to do one a month or so called Surviving Guitar, and it's an interview kind of like this. But we also play a little bit more and interact. And I try to teach a piece of something he played. Great guitar player, and he brought his Fractal over, and it sounded mixed already through my
Mm.
speakers, and it sounded good. But when I was listening back to the audio and kind of blending them, it sounded great. Mine was a little fuzzier, because it was analog. His was
Mm.
a little more pristine,
Mm.
but still, it was negligible.
I think recorded it all sounds great. I think live you get that kick from the analog stuff.
Yeah, I
You
don't
know.
disagree.
Right, so let's finish up with this question about YouTube because we're
Sure.
both doing YouTube a lot now, and it's obviously a big thing these days. So,
Right.
so do you have any tips for people starting a YouTube music channel? So, what have you learned? What do you like the most and least about YouTube, and what would you share with people that want to start, like musicians that are out playing all the time that want to get onto YouTube and make videos? What would your advice be to them?
First of all, do what feels good to you. If you're watching someone's video or someone's channel that's really successful, um, don't try to copy them because it's not going to come off as authentic. Um, that being said, you're going to find your way. You're going to make videos that in 2 years you'll look back and you'll be like, wow, I can't believe I ever made that. Um, so try to find what speaks to you and what feels good and feels comfortable because that gets translated through the camera. Um, what I don't like about the YouTube world, and what I think is the chasing of each other and putting others, how can I say it, like pandering, saying like just making a video just for like clickbait type stuff.
Mm.
Um, I love Tim Pierce's channel because he does what feels good to him, and he'll say, "I want to talk about this guitar today," and he'll have a guest on or something, or we'll just talk about, like when I've been on his channel a few times, we've texted concepts back and forth like that feel good to us, not like, "Hey, this is really hot right now, let's do this,"
Right, right.
And I think that's okay. That's fine if you want to do that, but like this video I did about the SC13, my thumbnail was, "Did Martin just reinvent the acoustic guitar again?" Because people are going to be like, "What? Martin doesn't reinvent
That
anything."
was a that
Yeah,
was a little bit clickbaity though.
and it was, but I believe in it because they do it.
Yeah,
So
it's
it's
real.
like,
Yeah.
but what I didn't say was like um, something like all of the things that's wrong with Martin.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Or
Right.
all of the things that's wrong with a Taylor. You know what I mean? Like that to me is more clickbaity because it's like, ooh, that's gossipy. Let's try
Yeah.
that. You know?
I totally agree. I mean, I was thinking the other day, I have a lot of products that I'm demoing on the channel, and I realized I've been so busy with that, I haven't actually spoke about the tools of my trade. Like I've never spoke about the TC Voice Live 3, which is the pedal I use the most for everything. And
And you know it backwards and
right,
forwards.
so I need to visit that because I can passionately talk about it and get. So I'm trying that. It's just a lot. There's a lot of things to do, but I think this actually ties in really nicely with how we began the interview. Get out there, make the music, do what you do it the best that you can. Don't be too precious about it, right?
Yeah.
Just do it. And I think I've realized that lately myself. I was doing that with certain aspects of music, but not everything. I think just do it the best you can, and because 10 years later, you'll watch those videos back and maybe you can do them better then. But that's fine. And you'll see a progression. You have evidence
But
of a progression.
yeah, and you don't know who you're inspiring. You know, and speaking of books, there's another cool book to check out called The Icarus Deception by Seth Godin, and it's basically, you know, don't was warned not to fly too high towards the sun, but he was also warned not to fly too low to the ocean because his wings could melt from the humidity.
Mm.
So it's like kind of like don't sell yourself too short either. There is an audience for everybody,
Yeah.
whether one person or a million people.
Yeah.
So
You should make a list of these books because I'd like to read them.
I'm happy to do that.
That'd be
for
great.
You. Yeah,
I'd love to.
I have much like I need to get back to reading more, but
Me too.
you get so
Me too. That's another thing I'd like to do more of. Yeah.
yeah.
I want to say thank you so much for your time. And I do.
My pleasure.
I really want to interview you and get to know you because we often run into each other. We've never actually sat and talked on the phone or hung out. So this is the first chance we've had to do that. And now I feel like I know you better. And I think the information you've given people has been really interesting. I do apologize that we didn't get to play music or do anything like that. But maybe in the future we can do something like that. That'd be great.
About this kind of stuff, and I'm happy to indulge because it's finding the right tools inspires us to play music.
Yeah.
So,
but we shouldn't let that overtake the music, right?
Exactly.
Right. That's today's lesson. So if people want to find out about you, I will link your YouTube channel. Can you just tell everyone where to find you online?
Yeah, my website, CoreyCongilio.com. Feel free to drop me a message there. And I want to extend a special, you can put this in the description in the comments too or whatever. If you use the code Corey25 on any of the instructional courses on my website, you'll get 20% off.
Oh, that's great.
My web. If you go through my website.
That's great. Thank you for that. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh. And yeah, thank you very much. I hope we answered everyone's questions. I apologize if we missed anything. Feel free to reach out to me or Corey if we did. We'll gladly answer. We're always here. And on the line of playing, I think I'm going to ask you to play some blues on that Strat to play us out.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'll give you a round of applause. Thank you very much. Okay, everyone. Corey, stay around. I'll say goodbye off air. Everyone, thanks for joining us. I'll see you next time, and go and play some music. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Yeah. Bye bye.